Living in a country where nearly 1/3 of the territory is deadly desert and billions of tons of sand are swallowing farmland every year, China has created an unprecedented miracle, planting more than 66 billion trees to transform some of the harshest lands on Earth into a billion-dollar agricultural ecosystem. This is not only a battle against desertification, but also an effort to revive deserts into massive green oases, where farms, modern solar power plants, and new cities grow together. So how were Chinese farmers able to turn dead land into places producing millions of tons of food every year? Join Agriculture Insight as we explore the story behind this extraordinary achievement. China did not conquer the desert because it was easy. They did it because there was no other choice. The greatest paradox of Western China is that the place harsh enough to challenge every limit of cultivation is also the very place this nation of 1.4 billion people must connect at all costs. But why is that? Stretching from the Gobi Desert to the Taklamakan Desert, China possesses one of the largest arid belts in the world, with total desert and desertified land reaching nearly 2.6 million square kilometers, equal to 4 times the size of Texas. Some areas receive less than 100 millimeters of rainfall per year, with extreme day-to-night temperature swings of nearly 80 degrees Celsius, while sandstorms bury roads within hours. But the greatest threat was not that the desert existed, but that it kept expanding. For decades, sand continuously advanced into farmland, villages, and northern economic corridors, creating massive dust storms that reached as far as Beijing, South Korea, and the skies of East Asia every spring. However, in the land where many nations saw nothing but hot, useless sand, Beijing saw vast land reserves, thousands of sunshine hours each year, and nearly limitless solar energy potential. Beneath that sand also lay more than 16 billion tons of oil, 16 trillion cubic meters of natural gas, along with minerals and a strategic corridor linking China with the rest of Central Asia. In other words, this was not just a desert, it was a colossal energy vault locked away by geography. At the same time, it was strategic land capable of absorbing population pressure, becoming a vital link in China's ambition to compete for global leadership. That is why China launched an unprecedented greening campaign, stopping desertification, channeling water across arid land, then transforming nearly 65,000 square kilometers of some of the most barren terrain into green oases capable of producing more than 30 million tons of agricultural products every year. And to understand how such a miracle could exist, we must begin with the first step, forcing billions of tons of sand to stand still before planting the very first seed. This battle did not begin with trees, but with understanding how the desert moves. Across the Taklamakan Desert, survey teams were deployed for months, using high-resolution satellite imagery, ground-penetrating radar, and thousands of wind measurements to analyze sand movement patterns, wind speed, and the terrain structure beneath the surface. The goal was not simply to observe the desert, but to read how it operates. Once the dynamic mapping was completed, the first step began: leveling the desert. Hundreds of bulldozers and heavy machines were deployed to cut down high dunes, move and redistribute enormous volumes of sand into lower areas, creating a relatively flat and uniform surface. This was not an immediate process of building farmland, but of removing extreme terrain instability, turning a chaotic environment into ground stable enough for human intervention. Only then did the sand control phase truly begin, and the real line of defense came from a solution that seemed primitive: dry straw. Tens of millions of tons of post-harvest straw from nearby agricultural regions were collected, compressed into bales, then transported by trucks and freight trains to the desert edge. There, it was cut into sections around 20 to 30 centimeters long, deep enough to anchor into the sand while still maintaining stable grip on the surface. Across thousands of square kilometers of scorching sand, workers inserted bundles of straw into the desert surface, forming a regular grid of squares measuring about 1 meter on each side. This structure, commonly known as the checkerboard barrier, became one of the most effective sand control systems ever deployed on a large scale anywhere in the world. When wind races close to the ground, this is where it carries the most sand. But when it strikes these small straw grids, the airflow is split, slowed, and loses kinetic energy. Sand particles that were moving begin to fall, trapped inside each square instead of continuing onward. After weeks, millions of small cells connect into one enormous mesh, turning a constantly shifting ocean of sand into a more stable surface. But the real importance of this system was not only keeping sand in place. It also reduced water evaporation, retained moisture more effectively, and created microclimates mild enough for drought-resistant shrubs to take root. That was the first turning point of the entire project. The checkerboard locked sand on the surface, but to keep the desert stable for years, China needed a stronger biological defensive line to hold the sand from below. From large-scale nurseries built along the desert edge, tens of millions of young seedlings, after being cared for through the earliest stage of life, were transported into the open sands. In many areas, each planting pit was dug by farmers to a depth of around 40 to 80 centimeters, allowing roots to reach the more stable sand layers below. What made this process different was that the bottom of each pit was then filled with 5 to 15 kilograms of organic fertilizer, moisture-retaining materials, and biological mulch to reduce water loss during the early stage. Once the seedlings were placed into the ground, drip irrigation systems delivered water directly to the root zone at a flow rate of only around 2 to 8 liters per hour, instead of wetting the entire surface like traditional flood irrigation. By sending water precisely where the plant needed it most, this method could reduce water use by roughly 30 to 60%, a critical factor in places where every drop was once considered a luxury. Most ordinary plant species would die within weeks from desert heat shock, so saxaul, tamarisk, drought-tolerant poplar, and many native shrubs were prioritized for their ability to survive the harshest conditions. But once the first roots penetrated deep into the ground, the balance began to shift. Roots bound loose sand particles together, trunks broke the wind, canopies retained moisture, and fallen leaves gradually created organic matter on the surface. Season after season, places once covered by bare sand began to form living soil. The first years were the most difficult stage, when seedling mortality rates in many areas could reach as high as 80%. Caused by a single major windstorm or one extreme summer. That is why China invested around 14 billion USD across multiple phases of national anti-desertification programs, while total maintenance costs are estimated to have exceeded 50 billion USD from 1978 to today. Few countries have attempted environmental restoration on this scale. More than 66 billion trees have been planted over decades, alongside over 500,000 kilometers of green belts, shelter forests, and new vegetation spreading along the edges of the largest deserts. From this point on, the battle was no longer only about surviving a brutal ocean of sand. It was about turning the desert into a new food machine of the 21st century. Once the sand was locked down, water was delivered, and the soil began to recover. The remote western deserts of China, such as Xinjiang, Ningxia, Gansu, and Inner Mongolia, were becoming one of the agricultural centers, contributing more than 30 million tons of farm products every year. One of the most striking examples is grapes. In Turpan, where there are more than 3,000 hours of sunshine each year, and extremely large day-night temperature differences, grapevines accumulate up to 40% more sugar than in typical temperate regions. Unlike traditional cultivation, many vineyards here use elevated trellis systems, precision drip irrigation, and the technique of burying grapevines underground during winter to protect them from severe cold. As a result, this area alone produces nearly 1.5 million tons of fresh grapes and 350,000 tons of raisins each year, making it one of the largest high-quality raising centers in Asia. China did not stop at food alone. It also made the Barren Desert begin to bloom. In the arid regions of Gansu and Ningxia, thousands of hectares of industrial roses have been planted for essential oil, rose tea, cosmetics, and dried petals. The dry climate helps reduce fungal disease, while intense sunlight increases essential oil concentration in the petals. For some rose varieties, it takes 3 to 5 tons of fresh petals to distill just 1 kilogram of essential oil, making the value of each hectare far higher than many traditional food crops. That turns roses into an ideal choice for lands with scarce water but a need for high economic return. But among the many high-value crops grown in these regions, none has transformed the desert economy more powerfully than cotton. Xinjiang currently produces around 5 million tons of cotton each year, equal to roughly 20% of global cotton output. Vast land allows large-scale mechanization with giant harvesters, while drip irrigation significantly reduces water costs. As a result, Xinjiang cotton remains highly competitive on international markets, putting pressure on many traditional cotton-growing regions, such as the United States. However, along with the low-cost advantage comes prolonged international controversy. Many Western governments and human rights organizations accuse part of the cotton supply chain in Xinjiang of involving forced labor or labor linked to detention systems. China rejects these accusations. But regardless of the controversy, one fact cannot be denied. Cotton has transformed former desert land into a major link in the global textile supply chain. To produce year-round in the middle of scorching sand, China needed to go even further, building modern greenhouse empires in the heart of the desert. Today, the arid western regions of China alone are estimated to possess more than 2,000 square kilometers of agricultural greenhouses, an area roughly 3 times larger than the entire greenhouse area of Canada. The most common type today is the northern Chinese solar greenhouse, a model specially optimized for cold and arid regions. The entire southern side is covered with transparent materials to capture maximum sunlight, while the northern side is a thick wall made of brick, rammed earth, or concrete, capable of absorbing heat during the day and slowly releasing it at night. This mechanism turns desert sunlight itself into a natural heating system. In winter, many greenhouses can maintain inside temperatures 10 to 20 degrees Celsius higher than outside without consuming excessive fuel. Alongside them are low-cost plastic tunnel greenhouses for rapid area expansion, as well as advanced smart greenhouses equipped with temperature, humidity, and carbon dioxide sensors, plus automated control systems. Inside these greenhouses, the main crops are tomatoes, strawberries, cucumbers, sweet peppers, premium leafy greens, and melons. Many facilities use growing substrates instead of soil, together with fertigation systems that deliver water and nutrients directly to the roots. As a result, greenhouse strawberry yields can reach 60 to 100 tons per hectare, 4 times higher than traditional open-field cultivation. Many areas along the edges of the Gobi Desert and the Taklamakan Desert possess a rare advantage: nearly endless sunlight. So China quickly turned this enormous free resource into power plants in the middle of the Sand Sea. At the edge of the Gobi Desert, one of the most striking symbols is a concentrated solar thermal complex using an energy tower around 260 meters tall, surrounded by approximately 12,000 giant heliostat mirrors. During the day, the entire mirror field rotates in sync with the movement of the sun and focuses light onto the top of the central tower. The heat generated is enough to raise molten salt to hundreds of degrees Celsius, which is then used to create steam that spins electricity-generating turbines. The plant is designed to produce around 390 million kilowatt-hours of electricity per year, enough to power hundreds of thousands of households. In the Kabuki Desert, the scene becomes even more spectacular. 196,000 solar panels arranged in the shape of a giant galloping horse, covering more than 15 million square feet, one of the world's greatest energy landmarks. During the 2010 to 2020 period, the energy ecology model in Kabuki Desert was estimated to generate around 10 billion USD in economic value from electricity, land restoration, jobs, and new infrastructure. But China did not stop at generating power. In many areas, solar farms are also combined with sheep grazing, creating a two-layer value model on the same land area. Raised solar panels create shade, helping reduce surface temperatures, limit water evaporation, and allow weeds or drought-resistant plants to grow better underneath. Sheep are then released to naturally control vegetation, reducing mechanical mowing costs while creating additional income from meat, milk, or wool. That turns 1 square meter of desert into land capable of producing electricity, animal feed, and livestock at the same time. Once electricity, water, and land had been brought under control, the desert no longer determined the limits of production. Even aquaculture could be developed in places once considered dead land, with output reaching nearly 200,000 tons per year. Lined ponds, water recirculation systems, and solar-powered oxygen pumps allow tilapia, carp, shrimp, and many freshwater species to grow in the middle of water-scarce regions. After harvest, nutrient-rich water containing nitrogen and organic matter from the ponds is reused to irrigate vegetables, orchards, and grazing fields, significantly reducing the need for chemical fertilizers. However, along with great potential comes serious concerns and risks. Desert aquaculture requires strict control of water quality, disease, and energy costs. Otherwise, the production advantage can quickly disappear. In the end, China did not just green the desert. It made electricity create water, water raise fish, and post-culture water feed crops, completing the largest closed-loop desert ecosystem in history. However, this effort has so far restored only around 19% of China's total 2.6 million square kilometers of desert and desertified land, showing that most of these arid regions will remain a long-term challenge for decades to come. And in the 21st century, in your view, will the leading nation be the one that controls the most resources, or the one that knows how to turn dead land into new power? But if China is turning deserts into endless green, then the nations of the Middle East are also using technology to write an impossible story of their own, harvesting 150 million tons of agricultural products from lands once considered hopeless. The greatest challenge for agriculture and daily life in coastal desert countries such as Israel, Morocco, and the United Arab Emirates is not land, but the scarcity of fresh water. Rather than accepting this limitation, they chose not to yield. Through technological innovation, these nations have turned a weakness into an advantage, directly converting seawater into fresh water to sustain agriculture on sand. At the heart of this transformation lies reverse osmosis technology, a solution that is intelligent, efficient, and truly groundbreaking. Seawater is drawn in through large-scale intake systems, then pressurized to extremely high levels, up to 60 to 80 bar, and forced through ultra-thin nanofiltration membranes. These membranes are so fine that only water molecules can pass through, while nearly all salt and impurities are retained. The result is a stream of purified water suitable for agricultural use. However, desalination is inherently expensive. To address this, desert nations have adopted a systemic strategy, integrating desalination plants with on-site solar and wind power facilities. By harnessing abundant renewable energy, production costs have been significantly reduced, reaching as low as about 0.5 per cubic meter. As a result, seawater is no longer a barrier, but a strategic resource, enabling the rise of high-tech agriculture in the heart of the desert. There's a surprising truth. Many leading agricultural experts actually prefer desert sand over fertile soil. The reason is simple, yet strategic. Sand allows for control, while fertile soil does not. Think of sand as a sterile blank canvas. It contains no inherent nutrients, no complex microbial activity, and no unpredictable variables. This allows fertigation systems to achieve 100% control over nutrient delivery. Fertilizers are precisely dissolved into water and delivered directly to the roots, reducing up to 95% of nutrient loss and completely eliminating the need for plants to search for nutrients. A massive advantage under extreme temperatures that can reach 50 degrees Celsius. Today, countries like Israel and Morocco are using this technology on a very large scale. In Israel, more than 75% of farmland is equipped with modern irrigation systems, to the point where water is no longer just a resource, but also a tool for cooperation and influence with other nations. Meanwhile, in regions like Central Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa, despite severe water shortages, many farmers still cannot adopt it. The reason is simple. The technology is too expensive. It's not that they don't need it, they simply can't afford access. Prickly pear, Opuntia ficus indica, the most iconic fruit of Mexico's desert regions, is also a migrant from the Americas, yet it has now greened over 50,000 hectares of desert land in Mexico. It can withstand temperatures up to 65 degrees Celsius, a level that would destroy most other crops. What sets it apart is that its way of survival goes against the norm. While most plants breathe during the day for photosynthesis, it shuts down to conserve water. At night, when temperatures drop, it opens up to absorb CO2. This night shift strategy is exactly what allows it to thrive in environments where water is a luxury. Its roots don't grow deep, only about 10 centimeters, but instead spread widely, reaching over 10 meters. Thanks to this, even brief rainfall or a thin layer of dew can be captured and used efficiently. As a result, to produce the same amount of biomass, it requires only 1/5 the water of conventional crops. After just a few years, the plant begins to bear fruit and continue producing steadily for up to 30 years. Harvesting is typically done early in the morning to avoid heat and preserve moisture. The fruits are then cleaned using rotating brushes and high-pressure air to remove tiny spines before packaging. The taste is mildly sweet, often described as a blend of watermelon and pear, refreshing, light, and perfectly suited for hot desert climates. A single hectare of desert can yield tens of tons of fruit, with a sweetness of around 15% brix, comparable to tropical fruits. However, the real gold mine lies in the seeds. To produce just 1 liter of oil, around 1 million seeds must be cold-pressed. Because of this intensive process, prickly pear seed oil can reach prices of up to $2,000 per liter, making it one of the most luxurious anti-aging ingredients in the world. Let's head to the vast fields of Charente melon in Charente, France, the birthplace of this premium melon variety. Been harvested during the harvest season from June to September, when warm sunshine helps the fruit reach optimal sweetness and aroma. Before harvesting, workers use handheld devices to measure sugar levels, ensuring a minimum brix of 12 to 14, the required threshold for premium classification. For Charente melons, the harvest timing is also determined by a natural crack at the stem and the distinctive fragrance that begins to develop around the fruit. Notably, each hectare can produce up to 30 tons, but only about 60 to 70% meet high-end export standards. The selected melons are hand-picked early in the morning and gently placed onto conveyor systems running along the fields, minimizing impact to preserve their thin skin and soft flesh, both highly delicate characteristics of this variety. Environmental conditions are also carefully monitored to prevent quality loss immediately after harvest. At the packing facility, each fruit passes through high-speed camera systems that analyze size, color, and the uniformity of its netting pattern. Some facilities also use optical sensors to detect internal defects invisible to the naked eye. The melons are then rapidly cooled to stabilize their texture and preserve their natural aroma before packaging. Continuing the lineup of drought-resistant biological machines, chickpea stands out as an efficient, natural protein production system, thriving even on poor sandy soils. At its core is its symbiotic relationship with rhizobium bacteria in the roots, allowing the plant to absorb nitrogen directly from the air and convert it into nutrients. Thanks to this, farms can reduce chemical fertilizer costs by up to 40% in subsequent growing cycles. To preserve precious moisture, chickpea seeds are planted using precision technology, placing them directly into deeper, moisture-retaining soil layers instead of disturbing the surface. This approach ensures stable germination and strong growth even under arid conditions, while still achieving a protein content of over 25%. During harvest, specialized combine machines cut close to the ground, where pod density is highest. The seeds are then cleaned using high-pressure air streams, reaching near-perfect purity before entering the production chain for high-value products such as hummus, a creamy, slightly tangy food made from ground chickpeas blended with sesame, olive oil, and lemon. From a traditional crop, chickpeas are rapidly becoming a cornerstone of sustainable agriculture, especially in regions facing drought and land degradation. Did you know that some of the world's finest grape can actually be grown in the middle of the desert? In places like Israel and other arid regions of the Middle East, grapes don't just survive, they thrive with exceptional quality. The secret lies in the harsh conditions themselves. During the day, up to 12 to 14 hours of intense sunlight allows grapes to accumulate sugars efficiently, while at night, temperatures can drop by 10 to 15 degrees Celsius, helping preserve their natural acidity. This contrast creates a perfect balance, rich sweetness with depth, ideal for premium winemaking. Harvesting is usually done early in the morning to avoid heat-related water loss. The grapes are then processed quickly to preserve their freshness and aroma. The result, from an environment that seems impossible for farming, the desert produces some of the highest value agricultural products in the world. This extreme temperature variation is actually sustaining over 60,000 hectares of pomegranates in Iran, the original homeland of the fruit and the world's second largest producer, just behind India. Here, pomegranate orchards stretch endlessly along desert oases, operating through a mix of small family farms and large-scale plantations. In autumn, when the fruits turn deep brick red and their skins become slightly rough, a sign that sugar levels have peaked, harvesting begins entirely by hand to avoid damaging the seeds inside. What makes these pomegranates special is the environment itself. With temperature swings of up to 30 degrees Celsius, the plants are forced into a natural defense mode. As a result, their sugar content and anthocyanin levels can be up to 40% higher than those grown in temperate regions. In other words, the harsher the conditions, the richer the fruit. Beyond fresh exports, most pomegranates in Iran are used to produce a key ingredient in Middle Eastern cuisine, concentrated pomegranate molasses. After harvest, the fruits are gently tapped to release the seeds without crushing them. The seeds are then pressed to extract pure juice, with no added sugar or chemicals. This juice is slowly reduced in large copper pots over wood fires, allowing water to evaporate naturally until the desired thickness is reached. The result is a thick, rich syrup packed with antioxidants and vitamins, with a deep, sweet tart flavor, and capable of being naturally preserved for up to 2 years without refrigeration. In the arid ecosystem of southwestern Morocco, the argan tree is not just a native plant, but a complete biological system. With roots that can reach depths of up to 30 meters, it taps into ancient groundwater reserves and survives prolonged drought cycles that can last for decades. Within this ecosystem, local goats play a unique role as a biological agent. They climb the trees to feed on the fruit, and during digestion, the pulp is broken down while the seeds are excreted with their hard shells partially softened by enzymes. In the past, humans took advantage of this natural process, but today it has largely been phased out. Instead, goats are mainly used for grazing to clear dry vegetation and provide organic fertilizer, helping improve the fertility of nutrient-poor sandy soils. When summer arrives, typically from June to August, argan fruits ripen, turn yellow, and naturally fall to the ground, the point at which oil content reaches its peak. After being sun-dried and depulped, the kernels are processed using modern cold-press technology in a temperature-controlled environment below 40 degrees Celsius, preserving valuable compounds such as vitamin E, phytosterols, and unsaturated fatty acids. On average, it takes 30 to 40 kilograms of fruit to produce just 1 liter of oil, which explains the high value of argan oil on the global market. The combination of traditional knowledge and modern technology has transformed argan into liquid gold, both a premium cosmetic ingredient and a sustainable economic pillar for communities living along the edge of the Sahara Desert. If there is one species that truly dominates the desert ecosystem, it is the camel. Without relying on advanced technology or expensive infrastructure, camels themselves are perfectly engineered, biological machines, built to survive in the harshest conditions. Unlike typical livestock, camels possess an extraordinary ability to conserve water. They can drink up to 100 liters in just 10 minutes, then survive for days, even weeks, without needing to drink again. The secret lies in their ability to highly concentrate urine and minimize water loss, along with storing energy as fat in their humps, essentially functioning like a massive biological battery. But camels are not just survivors. They are increasingly valuable economic assets. Camel milk, containing roughly 3 times more vitamin C than cow's milk, and being less likely to cause allergies, is becoming a premium product on the global market. At modern farms in United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia, milking operations are fully automated with robotic systems, ensuring the highest standards of hygiene and quality. After collection, the milk is rapidly cooled and transported by air to major markets in Europe and the United States within 24 hours, with prices reaching up to $30 per liter. From an ancient means of transportation, the camel has now become a key component in the high-tech agricultural supply chain of the desert. Considered one of the most hated animals in American history, Asian carp not only disrupt ecosystems with their astonishing reproduction rate, but also turn every boat trip into a gamble, suddenly launching out of the water and shattering the river's calm in an instant. Not native to the region, Asian carp were introduced to the United States in the 1970s to clean up aquaculture ponds. However, after flooding events, they escaped into the Mississippi River and triggered a massive invasion. Within just a few decades, their population grew to tens of millions, spreading thousands of kilometers and appearing in more than 20 states. Asian carp, especially silver carp, have an extremely strong startle response because their vibration sensing system is highly sensitive to low-frequency sound waves from boat engines. In the wild, leaping out of the water is a defense mechanism against predators. But in American rivers, every engine noise becomes an alarm, causing them to instinctively jump 2 to 3 meters into the air. These sudden leaps have injured many boaters and disrupted river tourism. Beneath the surface, their impact is even more destructive. They consume vast amounts of plankton, the foundation of the entire food chain, leading to situations where carp make up 70 to 90% of total fish biomass in some areas. When a single species dominates nearly an entire river, It is no longer an invasion, it is an ecosystem replacement. The dislike for Asian carp is so strong that a more than $10 million electric barrier has been constructed beneath the Chicago Sanitary and Ship Canal. Conductors placed 6.4 meters below the water continuously emit direct current pulses 34 times per second, creating an invisible wall that stuns fish on contact and forces them to turn back. However, this is only a temporary solution to block their spread. Alongside the electric barrier, river states also organize large-scale harvesting campaigns. Long encircling nets, up to 100 meters, are deployed to gradually corral fish into a confined area, then hauled in using mechanical winches. In addition, authorities even encourage local residents and commercial fishers to participate in reducing wild populations. The United States does not farm Asian carp for business. They exploit it as an ecological countermeasure. Fish caught from the Mississippi River are first sorted and inspected for quality, with those that do not meet size or condition standards being removed. Next comes the preliminary cleaning stage. The fish are washed with high-pressure cold water to remove mud, debris, and microorganisms on the surface. They are then transferred to the gutting and filleting area, where specialized machinery or skilled workers remove the heads, internal organs, and separate the flesh from the bones. Because carp contain many small intramuscular bones, an important step involves mechanical deboning or processing to produce meat that is easier to consume. The fish meat is then passed through a secondary inspection and refining system to eliminate any remaining small bones. Depending on the intended use, the meat may be kept as fillets, minced into fish paste, or cut into chunks. From there, Asian carp products marketed under the commercial name kopi are exported to various markets, particularly in Asia, where they are consumed as a familiar food source. Talking about Italy means talking about pasta. With nearly 4 million tons produced every year, Italy remains the world's #1 pasta producer, supplying billions of servings, from classic spaghetti to intricately shaped fusilli. This dominance begins with strict regulation. Under Italy's Italian Pasta Law 1967, all packaged dried pasta sold domestically must be made from 100% durum wheat semolina. Grown under the Mediterranean sun, this wheat has an exceptionally high protein content, giving pasta its firm bite and naturally golden color, without any additives. A key difference in premium Italian pasta comes from the use of bronze dies. While mass-produced, low-cost pasta is extruded through smooth Teflon dies to speed up production, high-quality Italian pasta is pressed through bronze molds. This deliberate choice creates a rougher, more porous surface, a clever mechanical design that helps sauce cling to every strand instead of slipping off, creating the perfect bite. After shaping, the pasta is dried on long vertical racks, allowing gravity to naturally stretch the strands straight and evenly. But the real secret lies in slow drying. Rather than blasting pasta with high heat for fast output, premium varieties are dried at temperatures below 50 degrees Celsius for up to 72 hours. This slow process preserves the starch structure and protein integrity, producing the firm, elastic texture known as al dente. Despite Italy producing more than 100 different pasta shapes, 3 varieties dominate the global market: spaghetti, penne, and fusilli, led by industry giant Barilla, which holds over 30% of the US pasta market. Leaving behind billion-dollar pasta strands, we step into one of the most iconic culinary production lines in the world. Each year, more than 2.7 billion pizzas are made in Italy, powering an industry worth tens of billions of dollars. At the heart of this system is Tipo Zero flour, an ultra-finely milled wheat flour with exceptionally low mineral content. To preserve authenticity, the Associazione Verace Pizza Napoletana enforces strict standards. Each pizza must be stretched by hand to retain its natural air pockets. The base must not exceed 3 millimeters in thickness, the crust edge no higher than 2 centimeters, and the use of a rolling pin is strictly prohibited. The most defining difference, however, lies in the baking process. Authentic Neapolitan pizza must be cooked in a wood-fired brick oven at temperatures between 430 and 485 degrees for just 60 to 90 seconds. This extreme heat causes the crust to rise rapidly, forming signature charred spots while the interior remains soft and moist, a texture that is very difficult to achieve with electric ovens. Did you know that farmers in Emilia-Romagna, the most fertile agricultural region in northern Italy, can actually use cheese as collateral for bank loans? More than 450,000 wheels of Parmigiano Reggiano are stored at Credito Emiliano, with a total value reaching $250 million, roughly equivalent to an entire mid-range jet fleet. This value begins with strict raw material standards. Only milk from cows fed on natural grass is allowed. No silage, no additives. Producing a single wheel weighing around 40 kilograms requires up to 550 liters of fresh milk, an intense level of concentration that pushes protein content to about 33%. At the dairy, the milk is heated in massive copper vats until it coagulates into a smooth, elastic curd. At the precise moment of readiness, cheesemakers use linen cloths to lift the steaming mass out of the way. With one decisive cut, the curd is split in two, each vat yielding 2 wheels with nearly identical size and structure. After being placed into molds, gently pressed, and set into shape, the cheese is immersed in brine for about 20 days, a step that both develops its characteristic saltiness and forms a natural protective rind. It is then transferred to vast aging warehouses lined with towering wooden racks, where temperature and humidity are tightly controlled for 12 to 36 months, long enough for the flavor to evolve from fresh milk into rich, nutty, buttery complexity. At this stage, a unique inspection ritual takes place. Experts gently tap each wheel with small hammers and listen carefully to the sound vibrations to detect even the slightest internal flaws. Only those that produce a clear, firm, and uniform sound are fire-branded with certification marks, indicating a stable internal structure and qualification for continued aging. Wheels that fail this test have their markings removed and are immediately downgraded in value. Finally, at optimal maturity, tiny tyrosine krills begin to form inside the cheese, delivering a deep umami flavor and significantly increasing its value, in some cases even doubling it. To prevent counterfeiting, each wheel is embedded with a microscopic edible microchip in its rind, enabling full traceability from farm to consumer. The journey of Parmigiano Reggiano does not end there. Right after the cheese wheels are removed from the copper vats, the remaining way begins a new cycle, one in which part of Italy's more than 8 million pigs are raised on this nutrient-rich byproduct to produce one of the world's most prized cured meats, prosciutto di Parma. While many people remain cautious about processed meats due to additives, authentic prosciutto di Parma contains only 2 ingredients: pork and sea salt. After being hand-salted, the pork legs are hung in curing houses with open windows to catch the dry winds from the Apennine Mountains. These air currents act as a natural curing chamber, allowing the meat to mature slowly over 12 to 36 months, gradually concentrating its flavor. During the curing process, artisans periodically insert a thin metal needle deep into specific points of the ham, then withdraw it to smell and assess the internal fermentation. Even the slightest off aroma can lead to the entire leg being immediately discarded. Only those that pass every stage of inspection are branded with the Parma crown, a mark of authenticity and quality certification. Each approved leg typically sells for between $300 and over $800, comparable to a premium cut of bluefin tuna o toro served in high-end omakase restaurants. Meanwhile, salami represents a different approach: microbial fermentation. Coarsely ground meat is mixed with spices and wine, then left to allow beneficial bacteria to develop naturally. The white mold on the surface is not a sign of spoilage, but rather a protective layer that prevents harmful bacteria and contributes to its distinctive aroma. As a result, premium products such as salami felino can reach prices of $40 to $60 per kilogram, reflecting the value of time, craftsmanship, and natural conditions that no industrial process can truly replicate or accelerate. Now let's step out of the confines of the factory and into the open, to Piedmont, a region that produces over 90,000 tons of hazelnuts each year, ranking among the highest in Italy. Its ideal climate and soil conditions have given rise to the Tonda Gentile trilobata variety, widely regarded by experts as top tier, thanks to its high whole kernel yield and exceptional oil content. To supply the production lines of Ferrero, the giant behind Nutella and Ferrero Rocher, harvesting has been almost fully mechanized. Once the nuts naturally fall to the ground at peak ripeness, high-powered machines sweep beneath the trees, collecting both nuts and dry leaves. A filtration system then removes debris, retaining only firm, high-quality hazelnuts, with a processing capacity of up to 2 tons per hour, equivalent to the work of hundreds of laborers. However, inside the factory, the true value of Italian hazelnuts lies in a closely guarded roasting stage. The temperature is precisely controlled to trigger the Maillard reaction, the key process responsible for creating the deep, rich nuttiness and distinct caramel notes found in Italy's iconic chocolate and hazelnut cream products. The world often associates France with premium wine, but in Italy, the industry is driven by more than 500 officially registered native grape varieties, exceeding the combined total of France, Spain, and Greece. With an annual production of over 50 million hectoliters, Italy consistently holds its position as the world's #1 wine producer, accounting for nearly 20% of global supply. That means 1 out of every 5 bottles poured worldwide comes from the sun-drenched hills of the Mediterranean, where fragmented terrain creates thousands of microclimates, allowing Italian winemakers to produce everything from crisp, sparkling wines to bold reds capable of aging for decades. In Piedmont, a historic northern hub, manual harvesting remains the gold standard for premium wines such as Barolo and Amarone. Skilled workers use specialized shears to carefully select only the ripest grape clusters. This method preserves the natural bloom on the grape skins, which contains wild yeasts, while minimizing bruising, a critical factor in shaping depth of flavor from the very beginning. Meanwhile, the vast estates of Veneto and Puglia, spanning thousands of hectares, rely on massive mechanical harvesters. Using high-frequency vibration systems to shake grapes loose at high speed, these machines can reduce labor costs by up to 70%. Night harvesting, when temperatures drop, further slows oxidation and helps preserve delicate fruit aromas before the grapes are sent for pressing. From this point, the Italian wine industry splits into 2 parallel yet complementary systems. At the high end, DOCG and DOC wines are aged in large oak barrels, often stored deep in natural stone cellars, requiring anywhere from 2 to 5 years for tannins to develop complexity and balance. In contrast, mass-market wines like Prosecco and table wines are produced in stainless steel tanks, ensuring that millions of bottles each year maintain consistency and fresh fruit character. A sharp contrast to the toasted, yeast-driven profile commonly associated with French sparkling wines. Revered as the white diamond of the kitchen, the Alba white truffle, the only agricultural product in the world that still resists all attempts at artificial cultivation, is harvested exclusively from the wild, with a global supply of just around 30 tons per year. Buried as deep as 25 centimeters underground, truffles depend on an extremely fragile ecosystem. Prolonged droughts in northern Italy are drying out the soil, disrupting the symbiotic relationship between the fungus and tree roots, and pushing the species closer to the brink of disappearance. To hunt this rare delicacy, Italians rely on the Legato Romagnolo, a breed with an exceptionally sensitive sense of smell, trained from as early as 3 months old to locate truffles without eating or damaging them, unlike pigs. The harvesting process is highly meticulous. Once the dog detects the scent, the hunter must carefully dig with a small spade, ensuring the delicate mycelial network remains intact to allow regeneration in the following season. Skilled hunters often kneel to the ground, using their bare hands to gently separate the truffle from the roots with absolute precision. Even the slightest scratch can cause its unique aroma to dissipate rapidly, erasing thousands of dollars in value within just a few hours. The white truffle harvest season runs from October to December. This extreme scarcity has fueled an underground competition among hunters, who often operate secretly at night to conceal their locations. In some cases, rivalries have escalated to the poisoning of competitors' dogs in an effort to eliminate their harvesting capabilities. This harsh and delicate process has driven the price of white truffles to between $6,000 and $10,000 per kilogram, up to 30 times more expensive than premium Wagyu beef sought after by the ultra-wealthy. Their flavor is formed by a complex blend of more than 120 volatile compounds, creating an aromatic spectrum that ranges from damp earth and wild honey to an intense, musky richness